so these are the supplies we're going to need for this cute folio album. So the first thing you're going to need is a paper collection, and I am using Grad Day from Color Play. It's really cute. It only has 6 12 by 12 sheets, but I'm going to be using a lot of white paper for my matting, and it's going to look really good against this kind of like monochrome yellow and gray black scheme that it has. And I am also using this ephemera, and it is from Color Play as well, and it goes with the collection Grad Day. So it has a lot of really cute pieces in here. The tassel was worth the hassle is one of my favorite pieces. A lot of really cute things like thanks mom and dad. So it's just really super cute ephemera. So I'm going to be using that. And then the cardstock that I'm using is the Coordinations Premium 110 pound. And this is going to be for the base, like the flaps and the pockets and things like that. My waterfalls and the actual cover of the album will be 65 pound Recollections black cardstock from Michaels, because I don't want that to be as heavy. And I'm also using some magnets, basic gray magnets, the smaller size. You're going to need the 1/4 inch tape, and then also 3 3/8 of an inch score tape. You're going to need some acetate, and I get a lot of questions about the acetate. Sometimes I make my own using my laminator. I just run the laminating sheets through empty and I use that. But this is just from a local art store, and it's just acetate. There's nothing fancy about it. You need a scoreboard and a trimmer. This is my one and done right there. And then you're gonna need, for the closure, you're gonna need some sort of a ribbon. I haven't decided yet which one I want to use. I really like this gray check pattern one right here, so I might use that. And then I have 2 colors of seam binding. I have like a really light lemon yellow, and then I also have a white, like a off-white almost. So that's another thing you're gonna need. You're gonna need some wet adhesive. I'm using the Art Glitter Glue. And also you will need scissors. You're gonna need a craft knife. You're also gonna need a glass mat or a self-healing mat, and I will show you mine when we get to that stage. It's just a little bit too large to have in here right now. You're gonna need your envelope punch board. So I've got mine right here. And then for my matting, I have 65 pound white Recollections cardstock. I have a ruler. This is my Tim Holtz ruler. I have a pokey tool. I have a pencil, very important to have a pencil. I have 2 dies to create my circles for my twine closures. These are from La La Land Crafts, but you could use a punch or another circle die. I really like these because La La Land Craft dies are nice and sturdy, so they'll go through the chipboard that I'm cutting with these. All right, so that's everything. Let's get started with our album. So to make the cover of the album, you're going to need 2 pieces of black cardstock that are 12 by 10. And we're going to cut off the excess over here when we know how much we need to cut off. And then you're going to need 2 pieces of medium weight chipboard that are 6.5 by 8. So 2 pieces of that. And then 1 piece that is 2 by 8 for our spine. So the first thing we need to do is connect our 2 pieces of black cardstock, and we're just gonna run a piece of tape along one edge of it. You could use 1/4 inch tape here if you wanted to. Just gonna trim off these edges here so I don't have tape sticking out. Okay. Sometimes we go over with our tape. All right. So now we can remove this. And we will attach these 2 sheets together, like so. All right, and then the first thing we want to do is attach our spine. So it's going to go right in the center of where we joined our 2 pieces of paper. And we're going to try to leave about 1 inch top and bottom. So I've got some 3/8 score tape back here, but you could use wet glue for this. So we're just going to try to get it even top and bottom and straight as we can. And then just give that a nice press down. And then we're going to get our next piece, and we're going to try to leave about 1/8 of an inch of space between our 2 pieces of chipboard when we lay them down. Again, this is 3/8 inch score tape. So we're going to leave about 1/8 of an inch and try to get it straight up and down. Okay. And then we've got our next piece. And that 1/8 of an inch that we're leaving here just allows room for the paper to go somewheres when it is folded in. Just gives it a little bit of breathing room. All right. So again, try to make sure that the top of this is level with the top of this. Okay. And again, leave your 1/8 of an inch of space. Now we can turn this over and give it a bit of a burnish. That, awesome. Bring it back. Now we can cut off some of this and some of this. I'm going to leave about 1 inch, and I'm just doing it with my scissors that are full of sticky tape now. You could totally get out your paper trimmers to do this, but none of this is going to be seen. It's all going to be underneath. So I'm not too particular about this step. Okay, perfect. So now we're going to start folding in our sides. So a good thing to do is just to stand it on itself, just like that, and then bring it over with your fingers. We're just training it, just breaking those fibers down a little bit. All right. Same for this side. So you could stand it on itself, or you can just bring it in with your fingers, your hands. Either way will work. This side here. And this is why we use the lightweight cardstock for this, the 65 pound, because it's going to bend around our chipboard so much nicer than the heavier weight would. Alright, so that's all done. So the next thing we can do is attach all of our score tape around the perimeter. So it's going to go there, there, and then on our spine and all along the sides. Alright, now we can go ahead and burnish down all our score tape. And you'll notice on the edges I didn't go all the way to the edge, and that's because we're going to be trimming that off anyways. So we can save a little bit of tape by doing that, and once we trim it off, if there's pieces that don't have tape, we can just always add a little bit of extra. So now let's snip our edges, our corners. So we're not going to go all the way to our chipboard. We're going to go about 1/8 of an inch to a 32nd of an inch outside that. So just like that. Alright, now we can start wrapping our cover. So first we need to remove the score tape from one long side and two short sides, and then the long side up here. And since we've already pre-folded everything, it's going to go down where it should fairly easily, but you can give it a little bit of help. Just make sure it's going down where it should. Alright, now let's do our other long side. So again, we'll remove this and then the tape on the paper. And I like to bring the center in first always, and then work my way out to my edges. And now let's do our short sides. So again, bring the center in and then smooth out your edges. Alright, let's do the last one here. Had to work that corner a little bit. And then bring it in. So we are looking really good here. So the next thing we need to do is just take the bone folder and just get a little bit of a right in here, not with the tip, just with the side of it, because you don't want it cut through right in here, because we're only using 65 pound weight cardstock. And then give it a little bit of help on this side and a little bit on this side. And then there you go. There we've got the beginning of our cute little folio. Let's go ahead and cover the spine now. The piece for the spine, to cover the spine, is 3 1/8 by 7 7/8. The 3 1/8 is just a scrap I had. It can be wider if you need it to be. And then the 7 7/8 is just going to give us a tiny bit of space at the top and the bottom. So I've already attached score tape all over the back of my cardstock, and then on either side of my spine and all along the center of the spine. So we can go ahead and remove all our score tape. The reason that I attach so much score tape is that I don't want it to bubble anywhere. So I want it to be really nice and flat and adhered onto the chipboard. And if I don't have enough adhesive, it can't do that. You could use wet adhesive here as well. I just really like score tape and the strength of it. So just get these 2 last pieces off, and then when you put this down, be super careful because it's not going anywhere if it's not lined up properly. So we will make sure that it's covering all the tape and is nice and straight. And then we can press it down. And then you're going to burnish, burnish, burnish. If you want this to be as flat can be. The base of the book is often the most important part of the album to make it look really nice and clean. Okay, now we can take a ruler and you can kind of see where your grooves are, and we will just more or less run it through there, just so it folds up a little bit easier for us. There we go. And there are no bubbles. Perfect. Alright, give it a little bend. And there we go. Our spine is covered and there's no bubbles. Now we're going to add our flaps to our book. So you're going to have 6 flaps in total. You're going to have 2 going out to the side, 2 going up to the top, and 2 going to the bottom. So our first 2 are going to measure 7 5/8 wide by 7 3/4 tall. And you're going to score at 1/2 inch on the 7 5/8 side. You're going to score at 1/2 inch, and then again at 1 3/8. So that you're going to need 2 of those, because we're going to put one going this way and then one is going to be on this side going this way. Our flaps are going to be identical to each other on both sides. So we're just going to remove a little bit of the backing of our tape, and I'm going to turn the book just because it's a little bit easier for me. And we're going to attach it, leaving about 1/8 of an inch on this side and 1/8 of an inch coming in from this side. So we're not going to go all the way to this side, we're not going to go all the way to this side. So you're just going to get it right in that corner there, and before you remove the rest of your adhesive, you can kind of make sure that you're squared off on both sides. So that looks pretty good right there. Kind of make sure you're straight to the top and the bottom, and that you have the same amount of spacing at the top and at the bottom. And then we can go ahead and remove the rest of the score tape, and then just lay it down like that. So that's our first largest flap going out to this side here. So let's go ahead and do the other side. And we're going to do it exactly the same. So we're just going to remove a little bit of our adhesive, or a little bit of the backing. And again, this is the piece that is 7 5/8 by 7 3/4, and you're going to score at 1/2 inch, and then again at 1 3/8 on the 7 5/8 side. So again, just lay it down, have your tape sticking out so you can grab it, and then we're just gonna center it right in there, leaving an equal amount on the sides and at the bottom there, and then remove our tape. So now we've got our two large flaps, and you can just reinforce those score marks. So we've got our two largest flaps, and then that's what's going to give us this look when we close our book. Super cute. Alright, so now let's attach our two larger flaps that go towards the top. So these ones measure 7 7/8 lengthwise by 6 1/4 wide, and you're going to score at 1/2 inch, and then again at 1 1/8 on the 7 7/8 inch side. So again, just go ahead and remove a little bit of your backing like so, and then in this case we're actually just going to line it up with the top of the flap on this side here. So it's actually going to make it quite a bit easier, and we're going to stay away about 1/8 of an inch from this score line. You don't want to go all the way to this score line, because then this won't be able to bend in properly. So line it up and stay about 1/8 of an inch away, and then you also have to make sure not to go all the way to this score line here either on our hinge, or on our spine, sorry, and you're gonna have enough room to do that on both sides there. Okay. Make sure it's straight going across the top, and then you can remove that adhesive or that backing, and then again you can reinforce your score line, and then that's going to sit nicely inside of that. So let's attach our next one on the other side. So the exact same process, we're going to just remove a little bit of the backing, and they're the same size, so you're going to score them the same, and line it up with the top of our flap on this side, and being careful not to go all the way to our score line. very important, our step there, not all the way over to our hinge, our book there. Still making sure we're nice and straight at the top. And then we can go ahead and again remove that backing from our tape. Alright, so that one's down. And again, we can bend back and reinforce our score line there. And then that one will open up towards the top. Alright, so now let's attach the two bottom ones. And the two bottom flaps are actually slightly shorter than the two top flaps. And that is because I don't want them to be hitting each other when our book is closed. So again, though, if you just line it up with our bottom score mark here, you're going to be perfect. So these flaps measure 8.5 long by 6 1/4 wide, and you're going to score at 1 inch, or sorry, 1/2 inch, and then you're going to score at 7/8 of an inch on the 8.5 inch side. So let's remove a little bit of our backing, bend down our score mark, and then just line it up along this side here. Again, being careful not to go over our spine there. And then remove the rest of that tape. And just attach it down. This is all a learning process. Don't beat yourself up if it doesn't go perfectly the first time, because what's the fun in that? If you just get it completely right the first time, then you don't have any more fun experiencing it. All right, so that side's all attached down. So let's attach our final flap here. So again, this piece measures 8.5 by 4 1/4, and we scored it on the 8.5 inch side at 1/2 inch and at 7/8 of an inch. So we move just a little bit of our backing, and we lay it down, and we line it up with the top of our flap here. Again, being super careful not to go over your score marks anywheres. If you really want to be sure, you can bend it in and make sure that it still bends in. And then we can remove the rest of our adhesive there. And then go ahead and press that down, fold it back, reinforce. So it will fold in this fashion. The bottom will go in, the top will go in, and then the side will go in. And the same thing on this side. Bottom, top, side, and then it will all fold in just like this, all together. So that is the beginning of our cute little folio. So let's get started adding some of our flips and flaps and elements to it. So we're going to start on the right side of our book on this first largest flap, right when you come inside the book. Right there is where we're going to start. So we're going to do a little gatefold here. So what we're going to need is 2 pieces of cardstock that measure 7 3/4 tall by 3 5/8 wide, and you're going to score them each at 1/2 inch on the 3 5/8 inch side. And then you're going to attach your score tape on your 1/2 inch flap, and we're just gonna fold it in like so, and we're gonna do that for both of our sides here. So this one is going to go here, and this one is going to go here. So again, I'm gonna turn the book because it's just easier for me. And I'm always gonna work through the book. I'm always gonna work with the edge that isn't attached to the book. Because if it stands over the sides at all, I'd rather have it going towards the inside of the book than towards the outside of the book. So let's just go ahead and remove a little bit of our tape, and it is going to be, the length is the exact same length as our flap. So we're going to go all the way to the corner of this piece, like so, and then we're going to go up here and make sure it's nice and straight and right along the edge of our flap. And then we can go ahead and remove the rest of our tape there, and just make sure that that's attached nicely there. Now let's go ahead and attach this side. So this side I like to do a little bit differently. Once I have my first flap on, what I like to do is actually just line them up so that they're nicely meeting in the middle. And that way I'm basically using the other side as my straight edge. And then I remove my tape and then press it down, and then we can open the whole flap like so, and then we can burnish on the back. And then that way we know that our edge is nice and straight and aligned in the middle, and they meet nicely in the middle like that. So this is going to have a magnet closure. So we need to attach our pattern paper to one side of it, and then we're going to attach this little 3x4 card from the cut aparts from the collection, and then we're going to attach the magnet and let it catch, and then this piece is going to go on top. So this piece of pattern paper measures 2 7/8 by 7.5. So we're just going to go ahead and use our glitter glue to attach it. So before we attach this side of our paper, we need to put this on and get our magnet to catch. So I have some score tape on the back here, and we are just going to try to center it as best as we can between the 2 pages. So top and bottom, left and right. It's about there, looks good to me. And we can just open it and burnish that on. Okay, so that's looking really cute. So now I've got my magnets here. So you're going to need a positive side and a negative side, like so, and then we will just remove the backing on them and open this up and put it where we want it there, and then just close it nicely and press that down, and then that's going to give us our magnetic closure there. So now we can go ahead and attach this. I switched to my art glitter, or my Fabri-Tac from my art glitter glue, because my daughter is also crafty and she totally stole my art glitter glue because she's doing a project as well. So make sure that's nice and centered with your black border all the way around. And then we'll close it up, and that side is done. I'm going to repeat the process on this side, except instead of our closure going from this side in, it's going to go from this side in, and you'll see what I mean when I complete the other side. So this is where we're at now. I finished this side, and this is what I meant by this. So this side opens this way, and this side opens this way. So they open opposite each other. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to work on the acetate pocket that goes on the back side of our largest flap. So the pocket measures 7 1/4 by 7 1/2, and on the 7 1/4 side, you're going to score at 1/2 inch on both sides, and then on the 7 1/2 side, you're going to score at 1/2 inch on the bottom. So we're going to score 1/2 inch on 3 sides, 2 long sides and 1 short side. So next you're going to need 4 pieces of patterned paper strips. You're going to have 2 of the same size, and then again 2 of the same size. The first ones, the long sides, measure 1/2 inch by 6 3/4. So you're going to need 2 strips that are 1/2 inch by 6 3/4, and you're going to need 2 that are 6 by 1/2 inch. And if they're directional, make sure that you're cutting them in the right direction. My paper is directional, so I cut some of it going this way, and then I cut some of it going this way. So these are going to go here, right there like that. So we need to actually cut our angles in the sides of these. So what I do is I take 2 of my pieces, in this case it is one of the long sides and one of the short sides, and I'm going to attach them together, not attach, just place them together here at the corners, and I'm going to make sure that they're equally in the corners, front and back. And then I'm going to take my scissor, and I'm going to go from this corner here up to that corner there, and that's going to give me my perfect angle. So I've got that right there like that. And then we're going to move over, and we're going to pick up the same top piece, but the other bottom piece, or side piece, sorry. And we're going to make sure again they're lined up in the corners. And we are again going to snip from this corner up to that corner, making sure to get a nice even cut. All right. And then down here, we will just repeat the process again. I'm going to turn it towards myself so I get a bit of a better view. Alright. And then the final one over here. So again, corner to corner. And then snip it up. All right, perfect. So now we're going to attach them onto our frame or onto our pocket. We're going to create a frame. So the best thing I find to do is to start with your top piece and make sure that it is about 1/8 of an inch down from the top and 1/8 of an inch from both sides. And then everything else should fall in place with that top piece. So we can pick it up if we need to so we can see where we're at. It's like so. This is kind of our leveling piece, so it is the most important one to make sure we get it on nice and straight. Alright, let's go ahead and cut our frame out. So I've got my craft knife here. I use this Fiskars one. I really like it because I feel like I have a lot of control. So you're going to need that, and you're going to need a metal ruler, and you're going to put it about 1/8 of an inch between your frame and the ruler, and we're going to start cutting about 1/8 of an inch down from the top there. So just the most important thing is to make sure that you are going right along your ruler. Just press your knife right into your ruler, and then we're going to stop about 1/8 of an inch from the bottom. And then we'll start where we stopped over here. So that's our frame all cut out. You might have some pieces sticking in the middle, but this one looks pretty good. So there's our nice black border all the way around our frame. So next we need to attach our acetate to the back of our pocket. And so we're just going to put it all around the inside back of the frame. We're going to use some 1/4 inch tape here. So just put it all the way around there. So let's attach our acetate, and make sure you're careful when you're putting it down. as you can see, I already made a boo-boo on mine. So nice and flat, just like that. And then we can give it a good burnish on there. And make sure there's none sticking up in the front, and there isn't. So that's our acetate pocket all done. So we're gonna just cut right across. This time we're not leaving any excess there. Just cut right across the bottom of our corners, just like you were making. And we will do it on the back side of our largest flap, right there. So again, we'll just take a little bit of our backing tape off and go ahead and attach it, not all the way to our score line on this side here, but pretty close, and bend in the bottom just so we kind of know where we are. And then we can line up this side here, make sure it's where it's supposed to be, and that all looks good. And then we can remove the rest of the tape and add a good burnish. And then we will open it up and remove the rest of our backing tape. And then go ahead and lay it down. Make sure it goes down nice and smooth, which there's no reason it shouldn't. And then we will burnish that down. All right, perfect. So I'm going to go ahead and repeat those steps and attach another acetate pocket to the inside of our large flap on the left-hand side of the book. All right, so this is where we're at now. We've got our two front gatefolds done. And then when you open the inside here, we've got our one acetate pocket. And then when you open the inside on this side, you've got the other acetate pocket there. So now we're going to go to these two flaps, the larger flaps that come down from the top. Now these two have an angle pocket on each flap. So there's going to be one here and there's going to be one here. So I've already cut this just to demonstrate. This angle is going to be coming in towards the center, and we're going to want this one to come in towards the center as well. So in this case, this piece of cardstock here measures 7 1/4 by 6, and it is 7 1/4 wide, and you're going to score it at 1/2 inch on each side. And then what I've done is for the right side over here, I've measured in 2 inches from this side here. I don't know if you can see it, it's in pencil. I've measured in 2 inches from this side, and then I've measured up 2 inches from the bottom. And what we're going to do is we're going to cut across there. And then for the pattern paper, we measured in 1 3/4 inches from this side here. Let me just confirm that. Yes. So 1 3/4 inches from this side, and then 1 3/4 up from the bottom. And then we are going to just cut across there. Now for this one here, I've measured in 2 inches from the left side, and then 2 inches up from the bottom. And for the pattern paper, I've measured 1 3/4 in from the left side, and then 1 3/4 up from the bottom. So this one's gonna go like on this side. So let's grab our cutter, and I'm gonna show you how to cut these. So you can either do it manually with your scissors, which I've done before and it works just fine, or you can take your piece and put it in your cutter with your flaps folded in, and then you're going to put your 2-inch tick mark right in the track down here, and your 2-inch tick mark in from the side right in the track up here. And then it's easiest I find if you start in the middle and cut than it is to try to start from the edges. So that'll give you your angle there. And I'm just going to clean this up because my blade is a little bit dull. And then once you cut it, you're going to have this weird little shape here, and we're just going to angle that back down. So that's going to be that. And then you're going to do the same thing with your pattern paper. So line up your tick mark up here and down here. And again, we're just going to start in the middle, or at least just not right on the edge. And then we're going to trim that. And again, I'm just going to clean mine up. You won't have to do this because you're going to have a nice sharp blade. And then that is going to layer on here perfectly. Now let's go ahead and attach this to here, and then we'll put it in our book. So let's remove our cutter, and we will bring our book back in. So first, let's go ahead and put our pattern paper piece onto our angle pockets. And once we're done, we can erase all our tick marks and just make sure we're leaving a nice even black border all the way around. And then I've attached some 1/4 inch score tape along the bottom, and then the 3/8 on my flaps, and I'm just going to take my smaller section off first. And again, I'm going to angle my book towards me a bit here, and I will come down here and put it all the way to into the corner and all the way along the edge, and then we're going to make sure it all lines up nicely here, which it does. So we will remove the backing from our tape. It's kind of hard to see everything black on black. Alright, and then just give that a good press, and then you can open your flap and burnish it from the back. Alright, so I'm going to do the other side, and then we will go on to the back of this flap. Alright, so this is where we're at now. We've got our angle pockets on, we've got our acetate pockets on, we've got our gatefold sections done. So we're going to go onto the left hand side of our folio, and we're going to flip over the flap that has our angle pocket on it, and that's where we're going to be working. So we're going to flip that over, and we are going to create our mechanism that goes this way, and then it also goes that way. So you're going to need 2 pieces of your cardstock that measure 7 1/4 wide by 7 3/4 tall. And then you're going to score it at 1/2 inch on this side here. And then 3 5/8 is going to be the middle, and then 6 3/4. And you're going to need 2 pieces like that. And then you're going to fold them. You're going to fold it up in the middle like so, and you're going to fold the flaps down. So you're going to fold it up and meet these two, and then you're going to fold these 2 flaps down. And you're going to need 2 pieces like that. So 2 identical pieces. So what we're going to do is these pieces are going to go on here like this, in this way. Your flaps are going to be in the middle, like so. So first, when we attach them first, we're only going to take the adhesive off the bottom flaps, not the tops just yet. So that's going to be our first step. So we've got our pieces that look like this, kind of like these, and they're going to attach down like this. So these sides, there will be nothing attached on the sides, only in the center. I'm sorry if I'm over explaining it. It's a bit of a tricky concept. So we're going to remove the adhesive off of the bottom flap of one of our pieces with our opening going towards the center. And we're going to line it up all the way to the side of our flap, making sure not to go over that score line that we've got at the bottom here, because they are the exact same height. So once you've got it lined up, you can let this press down. Make sure I didn't go over my folds. I didn't, so perfect. So you can let that come down, and now we're going to just take our bone folder and just burnish that one down. And then we're going to repeat the process with our other piece. So we've got our opening going towards the center, and you can remove the tape, and we will line it up all the way to the edge and all the way to the top. All right, and then you can press it down. And again, we'll open it up and burnish that. So now we've got like this, where our 2 pieces, this is what it should look like, where our 2 pieces of adhesive, our 2 flaps with adhesive are facing up. So now you're going to need a piece of cardstock that measures 6 1/4 by 7 3/4, just a flat piece of cardstock. So it's 6 1/4 wide by 7 3/4 tall. And we are going to take off just a little bit of one of our flaps. Doesn't really matter which one. And we're going to line our paper up perfectly there. And it should line up perfectly because it's the exact same size as our flap. So we can go ahead and press that down there, and then we can remove the rest of that adhesive or the backing and press it down. And then you can just let that open for a second and then remove this. And then we'll bring this back in and flatten it out right on top of that. And then we're going to get our bone folder, burnish it down really nicely. and that will create our mechanism. So it's going to open to this side, and then it will close, and then it will open to this side. Okay, now let's go ahead and add our magnets. So this mechanism does need quite a few magnets. You could try to do a different closure. You could try doing like a ribbon closure. That could work if you put your ribbon on before you do your angle pocket on the other side. That could work. So now we're going to work on the front part. We have our magnets all attached in here and on the other side. So now we're going to work on the front here, and we're going to create a pocket here. So the pieces for our pocket that we need a piece that's 7 1/4 by 5 1/2, and you're going to score it at 1/2 inch on both sides. And it's going to go down right there. So we can go ahead and attach it down now. I'm just going to go ahead and remove all my backings. And I'm just going to turn the book a bit just so I can see better, lift my edge up, and then so all the way to the sides and all the way to the bottom. Alright, so now let's do the top flap for our pocket. So we are going to create this shape here for the top of our pocket, for our flap. So how we're going to get that is we are going to measure down. We have a piece of black cardstock, that's our flap, and it measures 5 by 6 1/4, so it measures 5 inches tall by 6 1/4 wide, and you're going to score at 1/2 inch to get your flap here. And then what we're going to do is we're going to measure down 3 inches from the top and 3 inches from this top, so that we have a tick mark at 3 inches down. You're only going to measure down from your score line, not from the top here, from your score line. And then we're going to find our center down here, which is 3 1/8, and you're going to make another tick mark. And this one I am just going to freehand cut. I'm just going to try to angle my scissors towards my tick line over here. And then on this side, I'm going to go from my tick line down to my point. But if you wanted to do this in your trimmer, you could do the same thing as we did before. Just line up your tick mark and your tick mark and cut across. Now for our piece of pattern paper, it measures 4 inches by 6, or sorry, 4 1/4 by 6. And it's going to layer in here perfectly. And we're going to measure this one 2 3/4 down from the top. So you're going to get your ruler and a pencil, and we will measure it, make a tick mark at 2 3/4, and the same thing over here. down, so maybe that's better for you. And make your tick mark at 2 3/4, and this one is 6 inches wide, so the center is going to be at 3 inches. All right, so the same thing, we're just gonna line up our scissor and our tick mark, like so. And then same thing on this side. Just trying to join that angle there. Perfect. And there we go. There we've got our little angle cut there. And attach the top of our flap now here. So we can remove our backing, and we're going to attach it all the way to the top. Like so. Let's just make sure it's lined up on this side here. Okay, perfect. Now we're going to get our paper ready for down here. So I've got a layer here, and it measures 6 by 5 1/4. So we're going to attach that there, and then I've got a piece of pattern paper to go across here. But we can't attach them yet because we have to put in our little circles. So we have to put this one here, and this one has to go here. So so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put it in my piece of pattern paper up here where I want it. And this is really just eyeballing. So I think I want it right about there. So for my little circles, I've cut them twice, once out of chipboard with the dies, and then once out of white paper, and I layered them together, and then I put a brad through the center of it with my pokey tool. So that's going to go in there like that. And we'll just open it in the back there. And then we're going to attach this one down because we need to have it in place where it's going to go before we can add our second piece. Before we can add the bottom. All right. Make sure it's where I want it. Perfect. Now we can actually attach this white piece already now, because we can put it through the other strip of pattern paper we have. These little magnet backings everywhere. And we'll just layer that on there. Like so. Perfect. And then this piece is going to go here, but we need to put this through there first. So we're going to line it up, and we're going to decide where we want it. And that general area looks pretty good to me. So we're going to poke our hole through there with the pokey tool, and then stick it in there. Open up the back, and then just check it one more time. That looks good to me. Make sure you get some glue right on those brad backs. So we will attach that there. Again, if you have directional paper, I would be careful with steps like this. Perfect. Now we can get some twine, and I just have this sparkly type twine here. I might actually use, I think I'll use this stuff because it's white, and this is just some embroidery thread. I think white would look better here than an off-white. So we just loop it under here, stick it under one of your things, and you give it a tie, and you can double knot it, especially with the thinner stuff like this. Sometimes when it's thicker, I shy away from double knotting it because I don't want a bigger bump under there. And then you're just going to cut off your little tail there. And then you're going to bring it down and around. And you can go as many times as you want. I usually go twice. And there we go. There is one of our sections done. So I'm going to repeat this process of the pocket with the flap on the top of our last flap that folds. Just realized. So I'm going to repeat that process down here that I did up here with this. And this is the flap that folds out towards the bottom, the shorter flap. So I'm going to repeat the process of this pocket here, and then I'll be right back. Okay, so this is where we're at now. I've finished this cute little pocket down here, and I did it exactly the same way as the top pocket. So now we're going to flip over to the back. Just have to stand this up here. Flip over, so we're at the back side of our shorter flap here. And in here we have a pocket. So our pocket measures 7 1/4 by 4 1/4, and you're just gonna score it at 1/2 inch on both sides. And then it's just gonna go all the way to the bottom down here. So we'll just remove our tape from our 1/2 inch flaps and our 1/4 inch at the bottom, and we will just attach it right there. Just like so. So we've just attached it all the way to the bottom. So now we're back here in our inside back cover, and we're going to put a piece of white cardstock down here just to cover up our chipboard there. And our piece measures 6 by 7 1/2. So we're just going to use our wet adhesive all over the back of that there, and we will just place it down right in the center there, and then just smooth it on. Just like so. And now we're going to attach our waterfall pieces back here. So our waterfall pieces measure 4 inches 4 1/4 inches wide by 4 3/4 tall, and you're going to score them at a 1/2 inch on the 4 3/4 side on every one of them. So we're just going to attach them like so, leaving a little white border around the top and the side there. So we're just gonna remove the backing. We have 8 of these pieces. So just remove the backing and then attach them, leaving that white border. Now let's go to our second piece. Again, we fold down our flap and try to keep it lined up. Just don't press down too hard yet until we can close this one down and make sure they are lining up with each other, which looks good. So I'll do one more with you and then I'll get the rest on. So we just repeat this process all the way down until all 8 of our flaps are attached. Alright, so I've got all my pieces on. So let's attach my closure down here. So we're just gonna see where the center is. So this piece measures 5 3/4 by 1 1/2, and on the 5 3/4 side, you're gonna score at 1/2 inch. So you have a little 1/2 inch flap. So we'll just go ahead and remove the tape there for the backing, and then just kind of figure out where we want it. I kind of want to maintain that little border down here. So I'm going to stick mine like this, and then we'll attach the magnet. This is another reason that I use the 65-pound weight cardstock for my waterfalls, because I would almost need 2 magnets if I used anything heavier. Alright, and that is one of our waterfalls finished. And that is this side of the book of the folio finished. So we'll just fold it all in. And then we will move over here and we will be working on this flap right here. We're going to create some stacked pockets here, and they're going to have the envelope punch board design on them like this. So I've already done the bottom one, but the concept is exactly the same. So the first one we're going to put on measures, the piece of paper measures 6 1/8 by 7 1/4. On the 7 1/4 inch side, you're going to score at 1/2 inch on both sides. And then you're going to add your 1/4 inch tape along the bottom here, and then you're going to put tape on your flaps on the side. So let's move the book for just a second here. And we're going to bring in the envelope punch board. So we're going to punch 1 1/2 inches in from both sides. So first we will punch this side, and then we're going to flip and line our score mark up here again with 1.5 inches, just like so. And we've already done our other one the exact same way, and this piece measures 4 inches by 7 1/4, so it's 4 inches tall by 7 1/4 wide. Just gonna confirm that's 4 inches, yes. And then the pattern paper is 3 3/4 by 6 inches wide. And for this one, I lined it up at 1 1/4 and I punched, and then I lined it up again at 1 1/4 and I punched. So we're gonna do the same thing for this piece that's going to go here. So this piece is again 6 1/4 and it is 4 inches wide. So we're gonna line it up at 1 1/4. Again, 1 1/4. And then we're gonna grab our glass cutting mat and the metal ruler. So I have my glass cutting mat and a ruler, and I'm going to line it up, my ruler at the bottom of these grooves here. And I'm just going to take my craft knife and cut that out. Just like that. So now we've got that perfect edge. And we need to do the same thing with our pocket that we did. So again, just line it up and then grab your craft knife and cut. Just like so. So now we've got our pocket and we've got the perfect layer to go onto it. Okay, so we've got our book back and we're working on our shorter flap. So this is the angle pocket, and then we're working on this flap right here. So first we're going to attach the larger pocket. So we'll just remove one side of the adhesive for now, and we're going to attach it all the way to the bottom. It's the exact same size as the flap. So just make sure it's nicely lined up. You can actually press it in since there's nothing underneath it yet. Alright, and then get this side down. So we'll remove the bottom, the tape, and then this side as well. Alright, now let's attach our second pocket. So we're going to go right on top of the first one. I'm just going to go ahead and remove all my backings right now. And we will just go right on top of the first one. Now we can attach our papers, our pattern papers. So this one you're just gonna sneak inside here because it is gonna go down in there just a little bit. nicely lined up, and then we'll do our white one. And I'm using white because we have limited pattern paper, and I'm just gonna add some of the ephemera pieces onto the front of this. So it's gonna look cute anyways. And as I said before, I think the white really complements it quite nicely. All right, so that page is done. All right, now let's work up here on this flap here. So the back of the flap with the angle pocket, and we are going to put a pocket down here, and it's going to go all the way to the edge there. But we are going to punch this with the envelope punch board. So I will just grab that quickly. So we are going to punch this one in at 1 1/4. So from this score line into 1 1/4. So we will punch. And we will punch again there. And then I'm just going to go ahead and grab my craft knife and cut this out. And then for the pattern paper for this piece, we're going to bring it into 1 inch and punch, and then flip it over and punch. So I will cut these both out, and then I will be right back. Alright, so I've got it all cut out, and I have glued the piece on. So now we're just going to remove our backings of our tape. There's probably 7 million pieces of that all over my floor already now. I'm going to go ahead and close those up to help us. And then we will attach it. We can leave a little bit of space, I would say about 1/8 of an inch to 1/4 between those there, between the score line and the edge of our pocket. Now it's going to attach there. And then up here we're just going to put a photo mat, and then we're going to make a tag to go in there. And then, so we have our stacked pocket here. On the back of that flap, we're going to also add the same pocket, except in this case, the pocket is going this direction, and we're going to put this pocket on going this direction down here. So just like a fun little change up, but we're going to put it at the bottom down here. So again, just remove the backing from the tape. And to remind myself, yeah, we're going to have it going the other direction. So in this case, I'm just going to bring it all the way to the corner. Have my piece there and stick it on like this. Sorry, my filming space. Alright, so we've got that attached now. Alright, so now we're going to work on our inside back of our right hand side, where we're going to have our larger waterfall. So this piece measures 7.5 by 6, and our waterfall pieces measure 4.5 by 5 3/4. So they're going to nestle right inside there. So it's 4.5 by 5 3/4, and you're going to score it 1/2 inch on the 4.5 side. So we're going to attach our first one, keeping in mind that we want to leave that nice border all the way around, and we want it to be fairly straight because the first one is the most important one, so the rest of them are straight. And then attach the second one. Again, don't press down too hard until we are absolutely sure that they're going to line up nicely with each other. All right, that one looks good, so we can press it down. So I'll get the rest on and I'll be right back. So our little closure piece measures 5 3/4 by 1 1/2, and you're going to score 1/2 inch on the 5 3/4 side, on the longer side. And we will just add this, trying to get it in the middle as best as we can. Let's add it right there. And then I've got my magnet here, so I'm just going to remove both my sides and attach it to my strip and place it on there. All right, and that finishes the inside of the folio. I just need to add some of the papers, and when I'm adding the papers, I always just size down 1/4 inch. So in this case, just for as an example, I would put a piece that would be 6 inches, because this is 6 1/4. So 6 inches by the longest down here by about 6. Yeah, so about a 6 by 6 piece could fit in here to go back here and cover this piece up. So that's all I do. I just go down 1/4 inch for all my matting. So to finish up our album cover, we're going to first need to add our ribbons. So I've already added the front ones here, and I added the pattern paper on top of it, and the pattern paper measures 6 1/4 by 7 3/4. So now we're going to add our ribbon to the back. So you're going to want to add your, kind of bring your ribbon up here from the side so you can kind of tell where it needs to go, where the tape needs to go, that is. And then we will repeat the same step on the other side here. So just bring the ribbon up and put it there where it needs to go, and then you can go ahead and remove the backing from your tape. And I've left my ribbon really long because I wasn't sure how I was going to want to do the bows or anything like that, and it's better to have too long than too short. All right, and we'll attach this, and then I will attach my pattern paper to that in a minute. So now we're going to come back to the front, and we're going to work on the pocket that goes on the front here. So the piece that we need measures 7 inches wide by 11 inches long, and you're going to score it at 1/2 inch and 1 inch on either side, and then you're going to flip it like this, and you're going to score it at 6 1/2 and 6 3/4. So now we need to grab our scissors, and these two entire sections here are going to get cut out. So we're going to go ahead and just cut those out completely, as we don't need them. All right, and then I'm going to flip it over to the other side. all the way up to that score line there, and then flip it back over, cut it out, just like so. All right, now, so this piece that we're left with here is gonna have a 1/4 inch space for our expandable pocket, and it's gonna come in like this, and that's what our back is going to look like, just like that. Okay, so the first thing we need to do is remove the backing of the tape only up until where this piece is going to cover it, and then go ahead and line these up in here so it's nice and square for you, and make sure you get it all the way in there. So ideally you would want to be lined up this edge here, which we are, so that's perfect. And then we're going to repeat the process on the other side. So only remove it up until the edge of this piece and bring it in and attach it there. All right, that makes the pocket. So now for the flap at the top, this piece measures 5 inches wide by 4 3/4 tall, and you're gonna score at 1/2 inch and then at 3/4 inch. So you again get that 1/4 inch gusset, and then to create the shape, we're going to do it the same way we did in the book. Our center would be 2.5, since this is 5 inches wide, and we're going to measure down from this second score line 2.5 inches on both sides, and then we're going to create our cut like that. So the next thing we need to do is we're going to remove the tape back here for right now, and we're going to attach our flap to our pocket. And for now we're just using just the tape we have at the top here. So just line it up pretty much and press it on, and then that gives us our cute little pocket. So now let's put some more of our tape on the back here. Oops. And there. Alright, so we've got our tape. And you could do this before you bring this flap up, but I always forget. Alright, and then we can kind of close this. And decide where we want it. I just want it centered on my book. So it's pretty much gonna go right there. Just open the lid so we can press it on, and then you can get a ruler or something like it and go in and press on the inside. And then you can also press on the inside of these flaps here. Alright. Put this in here. Okay. Alright, so that finishes the construction of our book. I'm not sure yet how I want to finish this, if I want to do the twine or if I just want to put a magnet for the pocket, but you'll see that in the walkthrough, and either way you will have learned how to do it. So it will be awesome. So thank you so much for joining me in this fun little book, and stay tuned for the walkthrough.